A new survey says most Americans now see the middle class as out of reach.
$3,968.20 per month. That's how much it'll cost me, my husband, and my 3 kids to have health insurance a month.
I'm a financial planner, and these days I'm having a lot of trouble giving people financial advice because it is so hard to actually budget in an environment where everything is so unbelievably expensive. It is almost impossible to get ahead.
Okay, so today we're going to be taking a look at the cost of living everybody's been dealing with. Because believe it or not, we're almost a quarter of the way through the year already, and I don't think too much has gotten any better. We got a ton of stuff to go over today, along with comments from you guys from previous videos. So if you want to be featured on a future video, leave in the comments down below. But let's just jump right into it.
A new survey says most Americans now see the middle class as out of reach. The New York Times Siena poll found that 2/3 of voters think a middle-class lifestyle is unattainable for most people. That includes home ownership, stable employment, and a disposable income for leisure. 77% also say it's harder to achieve a middle-class lifestyle than a generation ago. Those polled say they do not feel confident in their ability to pay for retirement, housing, and health care. Pew Research defines middle class as 2/3 of the median household income. Here in California, that comes out to an annual income of roughly $63,000 to $190,000.
Okay, so the end right there was a wild jump, 60 to 190,000. I know that the numbers get skewed by some people who make way more than that, so I'd probably sway more onto the side of $60,000. But we got a comment from you guys right here. Do you remember the dream of making over $100,000 a year and think that was the magical number to reach? Because that's all it is now.
I'm a financial planner, and these days I'm having a lot of trouble giving people financial advice because it is so hard to actually budget in an environment where everything is so unbelievably expensive. It is almost impossible to get ahead. And what's also insane is how many people this is affecting. Like, I know people that are making well over 6 figures that are having to do math in the grocery store to make sure that they can afford groceries, or having to make like very deliberate decisions about their finances because they're struggling so much. And groceries is a huge thing, but like housing costs are another thing, and utilities have gone up for so many people, and just the amount of like cognitive effort and mental bandwidth that people are having to do to just like think about, can I afford like daily day-to-day necessities?
It's crazy that we've been going over this topic since I started making videos on this channel, and the only thing that's changed is that everything seems to have gotten even worse. Speaking about the bills constantly increasing, we got another comment from you guys. I got an email from my car insurance last week saying, congratulations, your premium went down. And when I checked the bill online, it actually went up $28. They really thought I wouldn't notice. We're gonna get into even crazier increases, especially when we're talking about electricity bills a little bit later in this video, but we'll just move on to this clip.
So the sad reality is right now, guys, and I just realized it's starting to rain. Whatever, dog's out, we're getting some walking in, but the sad reality is that most Americans right now are broke. They don't have savings at all, and they're in crippling debt. And guys, this has gotten worse over the last couple of years since 2019. I mean, I know everybody out there would do anything to go back to 2019 prices, right? That'd be a dream. But at this point, I don't know if that's ever going to happen. That's the sad reality. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. And with the Fed cutting rates right now aggressively, and they're planning on cutting them more, inflation, there's always a chance it starts to go up again and prices get even worse.
And all of these types of clips and examples aren't just people's feelings. There's a lot of info and statistics that come out pretty consistently, showing that virtually everything is becoming unaffordable for most.
Now, here's the first thing that I want to point out. A record number of Americans are taking emergency withdrawals from their 401ks. According to Vanguard, 6% of people enrolled in 401k plans made a hardship withdrawal. So this is a record high. This is up from 5% a year ago. According to their data, here are the top reasons for the hardship withdrawals. Avoiding foreclosure or eviction, 36%. Medical expenses, 31%. Tuition, 13%. Home repairs, 11%. And buying a home, 5%. So listen, I want to show you this. According to the AARP, right now, 7% of retirees are returning to the workplace due to financial needs. And this is a record high. This is up from 6% a year ago. And at that time, 6% was a record high. Now moving on, consumer credit card debts hit a record high of $1.28 trillion in the US. And this is data coming from the New York Federal Reserve. This is up by 5.5% compared to a year ago. Currently, about 170 million Americans have credit cards. 60% of credit card users carry a balance from month to month. And the average interest rate on a credit card is currently at 20%.
And that's why the examples of credit card debt we go over on this channel are never ending. Along with people coming out of retirement just to survive, that immediately makes me think what's going to happen when my generation gets up to that age. Most people are going to be working until they're in the grave. And I mean the 401k withdrawals, we've seen a couple bad examples of it, with people taking it out to go party and completely waste the money. But here you could see 36% were just avoiding getting evicted. This is all just looking absolutely awful. And we got another comment from you guys. I'm from South Africa. Believe me, it's the same here. Statistics say that the average person pays 74% of their salary towards debt. That's crazy.
I cannot afford Florida anymore. I just looked at my budget and my electric bill for December, which in Florida, mind you, we don't use the AC very much when it comes to December, okay? My electric bill for this December was more expensive than my electric bill from August of 2020, one of the hottest months of the year. Make that make sense. I use way less electricity in December than I do in August of any given year, and somehow my bill is now higher. My electric bills have more than doubled in the course of 5 years. And also, my water bill has more than doubled. And not to mention the rates of my insurance, property taxes, yada, yada, yada. It's all just gone up and up and up.
Let's see what this month's electric bill is. Last month it was $527, and that was before the snowstorm. $626.05. Unbelievable.
My bill last month was $589. My truck payment being $389, insurance another $187, and medical being $350. I'm retired and I get $984 a month. So it's really not surprising seeing the stats from the last clip with retirees going back to the workforce.
Everyone clowns on California for being so expensive, but let me just point out Florida. More than 30% of the Floridian population pays over 50% of their yearly earnings for rent. That means almost 1 in 3 people pay half of what they make in an entire year just so that they can rent, not even buy a place.
And that goes very well with a comment from you guys. They weren't kidding when they said you'll own nothing and be happy. Because once you're done with all the other bills, the grocery, the insurance, utility bills, possible car payments, most people don't have anything left over to save. They're living month by month.
Food is high. These are tough times.
Tough times reflected in Oregon's 2026 Cost of Living Report. Data collected by State Treasurer Elizabeth Steiner shows financial hardship is growing more common.
And we're just all confused and just trying to survive out here.
73% of Oregonians report cutting down on expenses to pay for food. 53% say they still struggle to pay bills.
We got to prepare for the times we're in. Just shop smarter.
I can't even shop in my own neighborhood anymore. All the stores like in Portland are really getting out of hand. Like Groceries, when I went last time, when I tried to get a pack of strawberries, it was like $7 to $9 at all the stores for one pack of strawberries.
Treasurer Steiner says nearly half of Oregonians can't afford a $500 emergency and might turn to credit.
By the end of the month, they've run out of money until they get their next paycheck. And so as a result, more Oregonians are using credit cards to pay for essential things like food or gas or utility bills.
The report shows debt is at an all-time high, as are interest rates. Bankruptcy filings increased 25% between 2024 and 2025.
The more things happen like what's happening in the world now, it's going to get higher.
We could go over to the comment section, and those strawberries she was talking about molded the day after you got home. FYI, WinCode does not accept credit cards as a form of payment, probably so they could dodge the surcharges that the credit card companies have. But as they were talking about in the clip, most people are turning to credit just to stay afloat to buy the necessities you wouldn't be able to use it in the store. Alright then, but now we could switch over to a couple other examples that are a result of this high cost of living climate.
Britain's nightlife is at a breaking point as new figures reveal a third of the country's clubs have vanished in just 5 years. The closures across the country have come as a result of soaring costs, tax hikes, and a massive shift in how people are partying. Chancellor Rachel Reeves has been slammed for offering the sector little support, with thousands of jobs being lost as clubs shut. Before the pandemic, the country boasted 1,247 clubs, but the latest data reveals that number has dropped to just 799 night spots. Research shows that many Brits are now ditching the 2 a.m. finish in favor of early door socializing, with the 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. slot now generating more revenue than the traditional 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. peak.
And we'll go straight over to the comments. Who on earth wants to pay £30 to get inside and then £12 per drink? They got greedy. Nobody wants to work a £12 an hour minimum wage to buy a drink for $15. Makes a very good point. Clubbing is dead, plus one drink is £10. Clubbing is so overrated. People would go out if they could afford it. Who wants to spend their hourly rate on one drink? I do think it's mostly because of the cost, but regardless, times are changing. Not every generation is going to be the exact same, and we can take a look at another example right here.
The global beer business is waking up to a nasty hangover. Across the world, people are drinking less. Rising grocery prices, health concerns, and a cultural shift away from alcohol. And company spirits are subdued. Heineken just announced up to 6,000 job cuts, about 7% of its workforce, after beer volumes fell again. Its CEO is stepping down after struggling to revive growth by pushing premium beers and expanding into developing markets. Meanwhile, Carlsberg says demand in Western markets remains subdued. Profit growth forecasts across the industry are slowing for 2026. But this isn't just a bad year. Last year, US alcohol consumption fell to the lowest levels since records began, all the way back to 1939.
And before I say anything about it, we can go over to the comments. There's no cultural shift. It's simple that people don't want to pay $8 for a pint. I personally do think there is somewhat of a cultural shift, at least with my generation and younger, but still, I think overall it still is the prices. Anything except lowering those prices. They'll cut the workforce, but won't lower those prices. £10 for 6 beers in a grocery store? No thanks. I'll be drinking my sparkling water. It's too expensive. And because it just doesn't taste good. Like I said, I think it's a bit of both. I feel like each generation gets more and more health conscious, and whether you like the taste of alcohol or not, it's still very unhealthy for you. Then you add in the ridiculous prices you're paying for it, and it makes it a very unattractive thing to do. But as a result of what we've seen in this video, it's not surprising that people around the world aren't having as many kids anymore. And now we have some governments trying to step in and remind you of that.
If you're turning 29 in France, you might soon get a message from the government about having a baby. Let me explain. France's Ministry of Health just announced a plan to try and improve fertility outcomes in the country. Part of that plan? Sending a letter to 29-year-olds reminding them that fertility declines with age. Officials say 1 in 8 French couples struggles with fertility due to health factors and personal choices, like waiting until you're older to have a baby. These communications are just one of 16 measures in the plan. The idea, the ministry says, is to avoid the "if only I'd known" mentality, and aims to empower young adults free from social pressure. These communications will also stress that fertility is a shared responsibility between men and women, and that while egg freezing is one option, it's not, in their words, a miracle cure. Other actions in the plan include better fertility education in school, expanding egg freezing centres, and developing a national plan to address endometriosis.
Okay, so I don't think the problem is that most people just don't know that it'll be much harder, if not impossible, to have a kid when you're older. It's because people can't afford to raise a kid. And now you have the government sending you messages persuading you, but nothing in the country is going to change. Still going to be very expensive to live. So where do they think the money would come from? I really just don't understand. Because when you start seeing information like this come out, it seems basically impossible.
New research from Lending Tree says parents would need to earn about $400,000 a year to keep childcare costs for 2 kids within the federal benchmark for affordability. Follow me on this one. Those guidelines say it's considered affordable when childcare doesn't cost more than 7% of your household income. The average cost for care of an infant and 4-year-old is about $28,000 a year. Nationally, they say the average family brings in, this is their numbers, about $145,000 annually, falling significantly short of the affordability recommendations.
And I still think those numbers are skewed. 145 seems high, but both parents have to work full time to be able to pay the bills. However, you're basically taking out another mortgage just for somebody to watch your kids while you're working. It's basically a lose-lose situation.
$3,968.20 per month. That's how much it'll cost me, my husband, and my 3 kids to have health insurance a month. That does not include dental and vision. No. That is just the bare bones minimum. That is a mortgage on a very expensive home. I'm not doing that math right now. For context, both me and my husband have W-2 jobs. I can't even think straight right now because this is absurd. Neither one of our employers offer health insurance, which granted, that's on us. But these are jobs that either we love, we're really good at, or my job lets me stay at home with my kids. So we gotta do what we gotta do.
I also hope that it means that both of those jobs pay very well, because $4,000 for bare bones health insurance is just unreal. And if you start taking a look at any of the figures of what's going to come in the future, if we keep on the same path, it'll be basically unobtainable for everybody.
If the next 30 years look like the last 30 years, here's what everyday prices could look like in 2055. But first, let's see where we're at today. These are the average prices of these items in 2025. The 2055 projections are based off of historical growth, but obviously there's a ton of variables that could impact these numbers, so don't view these projections as guaranteed, but rather as a fun and slightly terrifying look at what the future could possibly be. Starting off with the average home price, if home prices grow like they have the past 3 decades, the average home price in 2055 would be right around $2 million. Number 2, average monthly rent. Fast forward 30 years and the average rent cost in 2055 could be $6,140 per month. Number 3, new car. No matter what year, please don't buy a brand new car, but especially in 2055, where the price could be as much as $103,000 on average. Number 4, coffee. Shout out to all my fellow caffeine addicts, but we may need to stop because the average price of a cup of coffee in 2055 could hit $16. To wrap up the list, in contrast, the median household income, if it grows like it has the past 30 years, in 2055, it could be right around $180,000 a year, which sounds good in theory until you remember how much everything else costs on this list.
Exactly, $180,000 a year will basically mean nothing. But now I'm starting to see some truly insane examples coming out where absolutely everything has a fee behind it. It doesn't matter if we're talking about your life, somebody still wants to get paid.
A big change is coming for people in the South Bay. They'll soon have to pay for an emergency service that's been free. It's called the First Responder Fee Program. And the Bay Area's largest city is about to put it into effect. Our business and tech reporter Scott Budman joins us now to break it all down. How does this work, Scott?
Well, Janelle, San Jose is going to start this program at the first of the year. Some other cities have it. And in fact, it's a fee that's going to be charged for certain medical service. So here's how it works. The San Jose Fire Department will charge $427 when it provides paramedic level medical services on those calls starting the first of the year. Now, those are emergency services involving, say, an IV, intubation, giving medication, that sort of thing. The fire department will bill your insurance directly, and they tell us if you're uninsured, you won't get a bill. They say this is to help pay for the 68,000 medical calls they get each year.
We'll just go right over to the comments before I say anything. Isn't that what taxes are for? Exactly. Especially if you're talking about a state like California with some of the worst taxes. Why am I paying taxes then? This is going to cause people to hesitate to call for help and die. It's already $2,000 for ambulance charges. Genuinely, what are all the taxes going towards? I can't even imagine how many people are going to pass away because of this. This is ridiculous. Maybe I misunderstood the purpose of paying taxes for emergency services, but shouldn't those services be included in my taxes? You are getting nickeled and dimed for absolutely everything on the planet, including things that should have already been paid for with those taxes. Again, especially when we're talking about California, they have brutal taxes over there. It's absolutely unbelievable.
How bad the cost of living is right now, our standards for what is a good product have never been lower. Those standards are in absolute hell right now. You can still find reasonably priced products, but they wind up being the biggest piece of crap you've ever used in your entire life. I was in an Uber on the way over here, and it was a pretty nice car. And I asked him, I was like, hey, I've never been in a car like this before. What brand is it? And he's like, well, they discontinued making it, so I got a pretty good price on it. And I was like, why did they discontinue making it? And he's like, well, there's a couple of finicky things. Like, for one thing, if the car stops for more than 10 seconds, it automatically shuts off. Plus, if it senses fire in the vehicle, then it automatically locks the doors. And I was like, well, that's not finicky. That is decidedly not finicky. That is like a massive, like the biggest safety hazard you could possibly ever have. And he's like, yeah, I know, but I paid $18,000 for it. And I was like, well, that changes things. And that is a good microcosm of the decisions that consumers are forced to make nowadays. Do I want to pay extra money, impoverish myself for safety, or do I want to pay less money and risk burning alive in my own vehicle?
So if you didn't know what vehicle he was talking about, it's definitely the Fiskars. They went underwater, the values absolutely tanked, so when something inevitably breaks, it'll be extremely hard to fix, along with locking all the doors and possibly burning you alive inside your car. I'm tired of buying fake wood products that cost $400 minimum. All the clothing is plastic, all of it. The Super Bowl quite literally had an ad for an app to get loans for groceries.
You know, all this kind of goes back to my video from yesterday on how they're trying to reach so far into the small upsides that we have right now to try and convince people that the economy is not so bad, that now's a good time to buy a house, that people are just rich and flush with cash and people are buying all these cars with cash. You know, 30% of home sales are going towards all cash buyers. Things must be great. Inflation's not so bad. But we all know the truth because we all have to live in the real world, not this made up internet one. And we all have to buy real groceries and pay the real rent and pay the real mortgage and see how much real money is left in our accounts after all that is said and done.
And honestly, I couldn't have really said it better myself. It's always them pushing a narrative that it's not actually that bad. But one of the positives of social media sites like TikTok is that you could see the examples of normal everyday people all around the country, all around the world. And it's not nearly as good as what they're trying to make it out to be. But that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. YouTube thinks you'll like this video popping up on screen right now. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and I'll talk to you guys later.